German newspaper reveals that the CIA tipped information some time ago that an imminent threat on the gas pipes will occur in the following weeks to months, perhaps the end of the year. Of course, there's been a lot of rumors going on, surfacing what happened recently. The question lies, did Russia do it? Or was it the US or NATO ally that decided to take upon the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines? Let's find out. Welcome to another geopolitical analysis video. Please like and subscribe, support the channel. We've covered a lot of things that have actually transpired recently, especially on the video, especially for new followers, new subscribers. I'd like to take a look at the video, The War on Fossil Fuels, to really get an understanding of what's happening on the chessboard and how the pieces are set. I'd also like to remind you that this video and channel is sponsored by Olympus Aroma. Now, Olympus Aroma offers the best artisanal products and herbs coming from Greece, especially from the mythical slopes of Olympus, nourished by the spectacular microclimate, guys. So please check it out. Free shipping worldwide. Take advantage of this. Flu season is coming in. New season, new changes. So I'm definitely sure you're going to like the products there. Now, back to the news. On September 26th, a leak on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline was discovered in the Baltic Sea. Several hours later, there were two more leaks were unexpectedly discovered on the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to the northeast of the island across from Denmark. Now, prior to the leaks, it's important to note underwater explosions were observed by the neighboring countries. Now I'll get into that because I just want to look at how convenient right now, especially with what's going on in Ukraine and especially with the statement of Putin discussing about the annexation of the territories that Russia took from Ukraine. But it's very convenient for both powers, Russia and US, to be in a situation like this where they both benefit. Russia has exploded its exports in the East, and especially countries that are in the OPEC club, in the cartel, have benefited from this immensely. And we see that the BRICS union, like I've discussed before, has been supporting Russia in this situation on a geo-economic terms, of course. But at the same time, the US, benefits from this because Europe becomes the sacrificial lamb, like I said on Twitter. It becomes the vulnerable state that depends not only on what we know with Russia and the energy sources, but depends now on NATO and on the US to figure out what's going to happen in terms of the following dynamics. This is a very interesting thing that has happened with the sabotage. Make no mistake about it. This is two major controversial pipelines, right? Of course, and that's why, again, US, we know that was against this agreement between Germany and Russia, and of course the Baltic countries that followed arrangement. So at a time of an energy crunch, and an export increase from both countries, this is definitely something that would benefit. Now, of course, somebody might ask, hey, is this to manipulate the commodity prices? Is this to really take advantage? Because we know September, October, November, leading up to December, are slow months relatively, right? These months are where you see a lot of LNG terminals being developed and a lot of infrastructure plans because there's less trafficking in the sea routes for energy because these months are very mild, especially in Europe. So another act of war between Russia and NATO might be presumed here, following the escalation on the Ukrainian front. Now, it's just funny to look into this because you may think, as an outsider, right? As you might think, well, this is an outlier. How could you have a multi-billion-dollar project not knowing what happened and allowing this to happen, especially when we know that it's been surveilled and monitored, as these pipelines have many other countries involved. And of course, Ukraine stated that this is probably a Russian act of terror to Europe in order to lay down its guard and actually pay Russian rubles, Bitcoin, or gold. And let's not forget, it's not that Putin that wanted to close the pipelines. Like, let's be real. In the long term, I think Russia is going to be the one that's going to have a very substantial disadvantage, losing the Western members of as consumers. Now, we know for certain countries, Hungary have paid in rubles. There are other countries as well that have agreed to pay Russia in its desired currency. But here again, in my previous video, go back to it again, it's about the currency wars. We're seeing that the dollar is being excluded from a lot of international trade, and OPEC is the one that, as a catalyst, that might determine where the future of the petrodollar. And many analysts, amazing thinkers, argue that the petrodollar is dead already. So yeah, Ukraine might think it might be a terrorist attack. Of course, it might be a retaliation tactic from Putin because of the European sanctions. But nonetheless, Germany, Denmark, and Swedish authorities have investigated the natural gas situation, and the Nord Stream AG company, which is the German company, remember that the maintenance of these pipelines are done by a German company, has stated that there's irreparable damage done that won't be resolved this year or perhaps the next. So what is just very eerie is looking at what Sweden has said, because seismologists who measure the earthquake have stated that submarine explosions before the leak were noted. Right? There's no doubt that there are explosions that happened on that day, said Bjorn Lud, who's part of the National Center of Seismology in Sweden. Very important, very important. So you already have explosions being noted before the leak. And of course, the Security Group of Petroleum in Norway, PSA, has noticed the presence of unmanned drones in the area that were foreign to the region, near the Norwegian offshore platforms of petroleum and natural gas, hinting at possible attacks, of course. And they warned the energy companies that this is something that we need to look into. This is, you can't have drones entering this area that are suspicious. This is a suspicious thing, right? This was reported by NTB News Group Media in Norway. But this impressive sabotage has inconceivable environmental ramifications, right? And it redefines this energy war that we're entering. These are very treacherous days we're going through. One thing seems to lead another, and the cascading effects might be very, very detrimental, not just for the West, but also for the East as well. So many skeptics, going back to the U.S. theory here as a culprit, they hint out that some time ago Biden had presented in the White House this speech that was a little bit weird. The way how he looked at the journalists when they asked him, how are you going to halt the Nord Stream pipeline? How are you going to take control of that? And he said, don't worry, we have the means. And he gave that stare of like, don't worry, this is something that you're never going to hear about probably the next decades, unclassified, right? So it'd be extremely hard to really follow the rhetoric that Russia did this. I mean, it's, in my opinion, the disapproval of energy policies with Russia was continuous, from Trump to Biden, and of course, this started in 2011. So the recent statements of Putin about annexing the annexation of the Ukrainian territories that have been now conquered is something that could have been a retaliation from the U.S., an answer to Russia's statements there. So It would be extremely hard again to think that Russia would have done this. They've already achieved what they wanted, which was to manipulate the energy situation and blackmail Europe, which is something that, again, either you play with our rules if you want to have our energy, or you just suffer. And again, I don't believe Russia perpetrated this, but you never know. We've seen it expand its exports to many countries, and has recently also proposed that OPEC cartel cut down production. Again, spike up the prices. So this could be another thing. This could be a secret arrangement between certain superpowers. This is not of the realm of possibility, neither conspiracy. And history is full of conspiracies. So in terms of that, I think it's safe to say that we're currently playing on a different ball game here. And it's something I wanted to note in this video before I close off. Beware, because the Baltic Sea is possibly the next region where we'll see a collision between NATO and Russian forces. Maybe Belarus might take part there. This is the next region where we might see escalations rise. We know the history of Finland and Russia, and the Nordic countries with Russia dating back to World War II. That territory from the Baltics, the western side of Russia, has always had tensions that every few decades comes back again and resurfaces. So I wouldn't be surprised we see something there. But it's a vital component of the next big sea route that will happen for the shipping trades, and that is the Arctic Sea. We know that the Arctic Sea is melting. The ice is melting there. So the passages there actually will save 2.5 weeks of transporting goods from east to the west. That has significant consequences when it comes to cutting down costs. And remember, the reason, again, Germany, which is, it's regarded as a landlocked country, but it's not. We know that it has its shores in the north, but a country that doesn't have direct energy sources, managed with low costs of production to be the most competitive in Europe and to be able to compete in the foreign markets outside the EU. So again, think about this. If the Arctic opens in a few years and we see that development start imploding, this is going to have cascading events when it comes to the exclusive economic zone between those countries. At the end, commodity prices will be a problem for the next coming 6, 12, possibly 24 months. We'll see prices rise, prices drop, prices rise, prices drop. And there are many components like we covered in my previous videos. And this is something that is happening along with the currency wars, the fiat wars, that in this commodity era, one thing that sums it up. And again, this is one spectacular book. If my followers, you guys are really committed to this, you really care about this, please grab a book. Grab a book and examine these theories, because this one over here, okay, The Currency Wars by James Rickards, who has been a counselor, advisor for the Department of Defense, and has also served in the markets for several decades, points out brilliantly what is going on. Let me read this quote to you, okay? I think this sums up the new era of currency wars. So, back in 1971, the U.S. Treasury Secretary John Connally to foreign financial ministers said, "The dollar is our currency, but it's your problem," when the U.S. dollar was dominant of things. But I'll turn that quote around. Our commodities, but it's your problem. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, like if you enjoyed this video, and check out the Olympus Aroma website in the description below. Bye for now.